All right, all right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Purpose Show, seen every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook Live, and of course, seen and heard all over the world on In Touch News, internet radio, where everyone is a star. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for tuning in for the last few Saturdays. We have had some really, really great responses to our programming. I am your host, Keith. Missing from my left usually is my lovely co-host, Monica, and there's a good reason for that. Today's show is not just hosted by me, a man, but we're going to be talking about a subject matter is this specifically targeted towards men and the issues that the Black men face, especially in today's contemporary times through a very unique lens. So before we dive into that subject, I just want to welcome everyone to what has really kind of turned into a continuing series on brotherhood, and that is our subject for today. But I would be remiss if I didn't also welcome you to this week. I'm giving you a preview that this week is one of the most historic weeks in our nation's history. We have so much to be anticipating and proud of and thankful for, because we anticipate that one way or another, like the old folks used to say, by hook or by crook, we will have a brand newly inaugurated president of the United States. And that really, prayerfully is going to begin the process of unifying and healing our nation, healing our country. But even more historically significant than that is that we will get to witness for the first time our first woman vice president, the first Black woman vice president, and the first graduate of an HBCU in the White House, a historically Black college and university in the White House. And that's Howard University. And we're going to hear a little bit more about Howard University and the significance of that school as well. But also the first female member of a Black Greek letter organization, which is Alpha Kappa Alpha, and that is Kamala Harris. So as a member of Black Greek letter organization myself, I don't mind telling you that it will certainly be a moment of great pride for me personally, but also for all Black Greeks. And since this week and this month are really highlighted by the anniversaries of not just one, but several of our Black Greek organizations, we just thought it was the right thing to do. We thought it only fitting to invite representatives from some of those organizations to our show and help bring awareness to the rich history, as well as some of the type of initiatives that they're currently doing and ongoing, even to this day. So we started out last month. I think I invited my frat brothers from Alpha Phi Alpha to talk about their Founders Day. Last week, we actually had the men of Kappa Alpha Psi on the heels of their Founders Day. But I have a special treat for our viewers today. We were careful last week to shout out a very heartfelt Happy Founders Day to the men in royal blue during our show as they celebrated their 107th anniversary of service to our community. And if I know these brothers, they probably started celebrating before the day happened and all the way through the weekend and beyond. So I'd like to welcome the distinguished men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated to the Soul Purpose Show. Gentlemen, unmute your microphones and say hello to all of our viewers.
Good morning, Keith and Monica. Good morning, brothers, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Good morning. Good morning. Excited to be here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning once again, Keith and Monica. Thank you for having us on. Brothers, good morning. God bless. Let's have a great show.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm going to let you guys tell our viewers a little bit more about yourselves. But we're honored to have on our show the chapter president of one of two large Tampa area Sigma chapters. So I think it's only the right thing to allow him to lead us off. Zannie, go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit more about who you are and the role that you serve.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Brother Zannie Mount. I'm a 41-year member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I joined in the fall of 1979 at the Zeta Xi chapter at USF, where I'm a graduate with a broadcast communications degree. Been active ever since. Happy to be part of one of our newest chapters in the fraternity, Sigma Xi Sigma, which covers Hillsborough County, primarily the northern part of the county. We're in partnership with our established chapter, Gamma Eta Sigma. To distinguish ourselves, they're known as Tampa Sigmas, and I'll let them talk about that later. And the newest chapter is Tampa Metro Sigmas. So, coming off of our celebration of 107 years last week, again, I serve as the chapter president. I'm also the immediate past state director for the state of Florida. So, have put on a many hats during my career, but just happy to be here, happy to celebrate Black Greekdom. And as Keith and I were talking before we came on, it's almost like, we're in a traffic lanes. We're coming from different directions, but we all going to the same destination. That's to serve our communities and provide opportunities for our collegiate members, and then postgraduate days for them to continue the relationship of brotherhood within the fraternity. And then finally, I work at Nexstar Media. I'm a traffic coordinator, which is dealing with billing reconciliation of our over 200 stations that Nexstar Media owns across the country. So, but that's it about me, and we'll be sharing some more information about the fraternity as we go forward.
Outstanding. Well, thank you very much, Zannie. I want to flip it to Dan. Say a few words about who you are and tell our viewers a little bit about what you do within the organization.
Well, good morning, and once again, Keith and Monica, thanks for having me. My name is Brother Daniel Smith, and I am a member of the Gamma Eta Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I joined Phi Beta Sigma in 2010, just celebrated my 10-year anniversary on December 6th. So been hitting the ground running since I joined the organization. Kind of wear a lot of hats, as they mentioned earlier, but currently right now I serve as the International Director of Military Affairs. I'm in charge of all of our military brothers and the things that they do throughout the fraternity. Then on the regional level, I serve as the Regional Director of Training. So I'm responsible for all of our training for the entire Southern region, putting together programs, making sure that brothers are trained and upholding the standards and everything that the fraternity wishes for them to, uphold. And then on the state level, I serve as our Director of Publicity, where I make sure I just keep the fraternity informed about the things that we're doing across the state. And then here locally, I'm the immediate past president of the Gamma Eta Sigma chapter with that. So kind of hold a lot of different hats, juggle around everything, but keep everything going and running smooth from there. And I attest that to Brother Mount, Brother Marcel, those brothers who have pushed me and kind of urged me to get into those positions. Because believe it or not, when I came into the fraternity, I was quiet and kind of just off to the side, and they kind of pushed it and saw the leadership in me. So that's a test to what we are as a fraternity as well. We push our members to rise to a certain standard once we see what they have within them. And then I would be remiss if I did not give a special shout out to our sorors of Zeta Phi Beta today on their Founders Day. Happy Founders Day to my sorors across the country. We wish you well. We know that COVID kind of messed up your centennial, but know that we are here with you and we love you, and we appreciate all that you do for your organization. And thanks again for having me. And then locally, I am a CEO of Awkward Media Group, digital marketing company where we help small businesses and mid-sized businesses with their brand development, social media management, and then just regular design services that we offer there. So once again, thanks for having me.
Outstanding. Yeah, good stuff, man. And shout out to the Zetas today on their Founders Day. And you're right. You have worn a lot of hats, and I think I met you. I don't mind sharing with our viewers many years ago, probably not long after you crossed into the fraternity. And I saw in the same thing that these brothers saw in you even then. I knew you were going to be doing great things within the fraternity. I think you invited me to come speak at a mentoring scholarship presentation that you guys had going on. And I just I'm super proud to see that you continue to go upward and onward. So good stuff. All right. And so now I want to bring in a brother who I was introduced to many years ago, and who I consider not only a friend, but he is also my DJ. That's my DJ, my DJ. And he is one of the most skilled turntable artists that I have ever known, man. Everyone say hello to Dave. You represent Queens, represent Haiti. Now he's Tampa's own. So now we've claimed him. What's going on, brother?
Good morning. Good morning once again. Yes, my name is Brother Dave Marcel, also known as the infamous DJ Psycho from Queens, New York. I have been in the fraternity as of this year, June the 15th. I will be celebrating 30 years in my illustrious fraternity. I want to give a big shout out to all of my spring 1991 Sands, both Zetas and Sigmas. We all turn 30 years in our respective organizations this year. So that's monumentous. I am also a life member of this organization. I am a member of Gamma Eta Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated here in Tampa, as Brother Zannie Mount alluded to earlier. Um, Through my travels over the years, being a CEO and business owner myself of a small entertainment company, Worldwide Entertainment, I have had the pleasure of meeting, excuse me, of meeting a lot of good people over the years. And through those travels, that's how I was able to meet Keith here and his lovely wife, Monica. Very good friends of mine. I appreciate what they do for the community. I appreciate them as people. Their voices are strong and loud. I think as a people and our respective organizations, we try to strive to provide service and enlightenment to our communities. We work very hard to do that. And once again, a big shout out to our sisters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, celebrating 101 years of finer womanhood service and scholarship to their communities today. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Let's get into it.
All right, outstanding. I'm looking forward to it, man. You guys have touched on a couple things that I think it hopefully have kind of piqued our viewers' interest as well. That we're definitely gonna have a chance to get into. But I've been looking forward to this show for quite some time, because I think it gives me an opportunity to expose our viewers to a side of Black Greekdom that they may not, they probably don't know as much as they assume. But let's take it back to 1914. I mean, it was a historic time in our country, in our development. There's a lot of things going on, but you guys were actually founded that year on the campus of Howard University, which also happens to be the alma mater of our incoming vice president. So, Zannie, go ahead and give us some historical perspective on the formation of Phi Beta Sigma.
So of course, the time frame, the early 1900s, America was a much different place, and three enterprising collegiates at Howard University, Honorable A. Langston Taylor, the Honorable Leonard F. Morris, Honorable Charles I. Brown. They met, they came together. Brother Taylor first presented the idea to Brother Morris, and then they asked Brother Brown to join them. And they wanted to look at starting an organization that was going to be a little different from the other Greek letter organizations. They really set out a purpose to be more of the inclusive we, as they said, as opposed to the exclusive we. Sometimes Greek letter organizations kind of get the rap of, they're exclusive and, they're elitist. And, but, our founders, they really wanted to focus on the ideas of service as part of our motto, culture for service and service for humanity. So at Howard, they went ahead, they found 9 other gentlemen, and those 12 members formed the nucleus, which became Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Since that time, we've initiated over 185,000 collegiate and alumni brothers, striving to keep up with that motto and our 3 core principles of brotherhood, scholarship, and service. So from that starting in 1914, looking at the atmosphere that was then prevalent in America, they definitely worked on a number of issues, trying to support minority businesses, trying to work, of course, for education, to spread chapters throughout the country, and to work on, anti-hazing legislation, anti-Jim Crow, policies that were in place in America, and kept going throughout, leading up into the civil rights movement. So that's just a thumbprint of how the organization got started. The founders were unique because when you look at our history, all 12 of the members were different in their appearance and their personality. And that was done on purpose because they really wanted an organization that would appeal to the broader spectrum of not everybody being alike, but to respect differences and the diversity in personalities, background, and even to the extent of color of skin. It was kind of prevalent back then that you had to have a certain look or maybe come from a certain background. And Phi Beta Sigma kind of broke the norm in that they got gentlemen from all different background and diversities to come in and form the nucleus and grow the organization from that time. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also shout out to my sorors and sisters of Zeta Phi Beta, being that my wife is a member of Zeta, and definitely want to make sure that I get that plug in as well. Happy Founders Day to all the sisters.
I'll say that's real good stuff, man. You take us back to the history of the organization, even up through civil rights. I think it's a good segue to give you brothers an opportunity to talk about some of the. Obviously, I kind of do my little research and I saw some names that were kind of a surprise to me as well. But to give a shot at trying to share with our viewers who some of the historically significant figures are within the organization as well. So anybody, go ahead and jump
I mean,
Daniel, won't you go ahead?
Go ahead, Brother Smith.
I mean, some of the historical figures that we have is, A. Philip Randolph, who worked along with the Million Man March that was conducted. Our headquarters was used during that time for the first Million Man March too. So we allowed them to utilize that space so that we could get that going. We have Hosea Williams, who is iconic and worked through everything from there. And then on the other spectrum, we have, a member who was a representative of the Black Panther Party. And, Huey P. Newton. I was almost lost his name for a second as I was speaking it out. But yeah, Huey P. Newton, who, was kind of on that broader side of the spectrum, but also represented, because a lot of people don't understand the true meaning of the Black Panther Party and the things that they did for the community. They just see them as a group that was against, the police and all of the oppression that we were facing, but they actually helped the community with lunches and different things that they were providing to them, rental assistance and all of those things that they were doing from there. So that's some of the perspectives that we have during that time that was going. And then, of course, we have the iconic Congressman John Lewis, the late Congressman John Lewis, who, represented during that Bloody Sunday and was always there representing for our voting rights, making sure that, we had a seat at the table and that African Americans in this country had the right to vote, had the right to, be an American. Like that's one of the basic things that he just wanted us to have the basic right to be accepted in this country, as everyone else. So I know he passed recently, and so just with that, we lost one of the biggest icons. And I think he just represents all of us. All of the Divine Nine look to Congressman John Lewis just as that representation that we have from there. So Dave, I don't know if you guys want to jump in with some other ones that stick out, but those names are the ones who stuck out most for me during that time.
Well, for me, and I want to bring this up specifically because of how I think people misassociate his contributions, is our beloved brother, Dr. George Washington Carver. And one of the things I want to clarify about his impact on history, it comes up a lot that folks think that somehow he invented peanut butter or he did something with peanuts, but they're not 100% sure. And just to kind of set the record straight, he was a pioneering scientist in the field of agriculture. And his philosophy was trying to help, at the time, African-American sharecroppers and farmers develop better ways of soil utilization. And what was happening was, at the time, we were going through a period in time where folks did not understand how to properly take care of the land. And he was a pioneering scientist in developing ways of rotating crops, understanding that you can't just keep planting and planting and planting, or else you essentially kill the nutrients in the earth. He also was a pioneer in developing specific techniques of agriculture. And I think that, that is missed on what his true legacy is, because his techniques and the developments of the ideas and philosophies that he pushed forward actually ended up helping out everyone, not just the minority community. He introduced a greater understanding of the whole process of agriculture. And to me, whenever Carver Day comes around, I feel a certain way because I understand that without his pioneering work, um, our way of living, our way of feeding our society today may be very different.
Good stuff. That's good stuff. That's excellent. I'm glad both of you chose those two individuals specifically to help, because it's really what I was after with this show, was to bring awareness to things that people assume that they kind of knew, but maybe they don't. We live in a kind of a snippet society now, so we get little bits and pieces of information. We see John Lewis as somebody who is historic, but for way more than just what happened last year, his involvement last year. I mean, here was a guy who was on the front lines, literally,
Literally.
of the civil rights protests. And to your point, Dave, we think about Black inventors a lot of times as if they just kind of walked into a farm and just kind of worked on something for a few moments or a few days and then kind of invented something. But it takes away the significance of just how brilliant our Black scientists were. We had mastery in science. We had mastery in industry and in agriculture and those kind of things, and not just we were just good, tinkering around with our hands. So those are excellent examples. So I appreciate that. Again, most people think they know Phi Beta Sigma. They may even assume that there's this coincidental relationship that you have with your sister organization, that maybe they came along, decided to have the same colors, and y'all just kind of started palling around through the years, and the relationship just kind of grew organically. But Zannie, the relationship is actually much deeper than that. Is that correct?
Yes. So, of course, we like to refer to it as the lover's stroll. One of our fraternity brothers, Charles Robert Taylor, at the time was dating Arizona Cleaver Stemmons, who was, one of the principal founders, along with four other ladies that founded Zeta Phi Beta. But they took a lover's stroll. They were campus sweethearts, and he had proposed to her the idea of forming a sister organization. And that was kind of the beginning nucleus of how Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated came about. They, got four other ladies, and then they formed four founders. They're known as the Five Pearls of Zeta Phi Beta, and then grew. We share a constitutional bond because in our respective constitutions, we refer to each other as a brother-sister Greek letter organization. Of course, with the same colors, the same Greek letters, but also a similar philosophy of, again, community service, scholarship, finding womanhood, sisterly love, sisterhood as part of their relationship. And it's another reason why I personally was drawn to Phi Beta Sigma, just to see the relationship that the brothers on campus and the brothers that I met all over, and then in consequent meeting the sisters, of just how close we are, and even though all of the Divine Nine organizations are close, it's just still something that unique with us as Sigmas and Zetas, how we help form the beginning of their organization up until celebrating together and being a part of all of our activities. It's always said, if you're going to see a Sigma, you're definitely going to see a Zeta at the same time.
So okay, so now which one of y'all are going to tell us about the fights? Because y'all are real tight, brothers, sisters. You see y'all together all the time. Anytime you're in the family, there's got to be some scrapping going on. So who's going to tell the tea?
It ain't no tea to spill. We love each other dearly, and so we work from there. But no, you're right. Like we always tell our people, I know Zannie has to deal with it, whereas his wife may come in and be like, "What y'all doing with this?" And we always hit them with that reminder: we don't be in Zeta business, so don't come over here treading in the Sigma business. Be constitutionally bound, but sometimes there's a threshold of where things stop at and go from there. So we do have those moments, but for the most part, we try to stay and do our own thing and try to navigate from there and then come together, knowing that we can come together from there because it's good to have that bond. And I'm kind of like you, Keith. My wife's an AKA, so I'm glad she understands it because when I see Zetas out in public and they come up and they hug me or something, I ain't got to worry about getting the side eye. So that's the other good thing about having that constitutional bond is you have kind of another organization that you can lean on when you need it. And that's the other good thing that I liked about having them there because when my dad passed away in June, I didn't just have my brothers there as well. I had my sisters of Zeta Phi Beta, and like to see that love come around as they wrapped their arms around me to uplift me during that time was something that made me, like Zannie said, it was like, yes, I joined the right organization, and then it's good to have that backup. Always having somebody that's got your back. So that's what I would say in regards to that. Yeah, we fight, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like family. Y'all can pick on us. We can pick on each other, but ain't nobody else.
Correct. But no, exactly. so that's exactly what I was gonna share. I remember from my collegiate years, the chapters on campus maybe having a little rub over something or a function, and then we would have a party or another organization would have a party. But Lord have mercy, don't let somebody push our sisters on that stroll line. I mean, all is forgotten instantly forgotten. Their brothers came to their assistance no matter what. And, I remember several situations where our sisters, may have been at an event and there might have been just a couple of brothers and something may have happened, some words may have been said. And our sisters, regardless of what may have been going on internally in the family, they were there. So yes, it does make for a very, very unique and very special relationship. Um, I think that is also one of the reasons that I enjoy being in this organization as much as I do. As I did earlier in the show, I gave a special shout out to my spring 1991 Zeta Sands. Back in 91, we were extremely close, extremely close.
I tell you, Dan, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm also married to an AKA, and people, those of us who are in Black Greekdom, I know we make a lot of, the first family relationships, and the deltas represent the omegas, and et cetera, et cetera. But so I'm gonna share a little secret with y'all now. Y'all don't tell nobody that I admitted this to y'all. Uh, the rest of us, in full disclosure, are we are really jealous. We're truly jealous of the bond that you guys have, one to another. Because to your point, I mean, you support one another, you uplift one another, you party together, you celebrate together, and so that public support is really just a phenomenal display of Black unity. And I know that obviously you probably have your disagreements from time to time. But the truth be told is, you guys really serve as the model for those of us who are, are Black Greeks, for what it means to actually support one another, to truly support one another. So it really is. So we're a little jealous of y'all. Just a little jealous of y'all.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, sir.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to break here in a minute. I just would offer Zannie, I would just offer you the opportunity to I guess kind of take us into break to share with you. You kind of hinted to what appealed to you early on about joining Phi Beta Sigma. What was the other thing that really just kind of made you know that this was the organization for you?
I think the fact that I didn't have to really fit a stereotype. And I think Greeks get, we get those stereotypes from outsiders that, certain personality traits that, well, this organization is about X and this organization is about Y. And, they all seem to have to conform. But I think the most important thing for me, looking at Phi Beta Sigma, one was the service component, really focusing in on community service. And two, that I really could just stay my individual self, bring my unique personality and traits to the organization and not having to try to, well, now that you're a Sigma, you've got to be a certain way. I could still be, Zannie, who I was before I became a member of Phi Beta Sigma, and I'm still that same person after I've joined Phi Beta Sigma. So to me, that was very important to kind of just maintain who I was and who I am, in my personal life and in the organization.
Outstanding. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break now. We come out of the break. I want to hear from from the other members on kind of some of their personal experiences, brotherhood experiences in Phi Beta Sigma, and I really want to get you guys take on some of the events of the last couple of weeks for sure. So
Okay.
stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Better be ready by 9 for the party that's on Fulton Street.
Hello, Kubo. What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals
Wow.
and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm gonna do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Wherever we go, we about to bring on the positive vibe. Wherever we go, we are gonna do what makes us feel right.
I'm in here talking to myself on mute. Welcome back, everyone, to the Soul Purpose Show. We have with us today the men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, kind of on the heels of their Founders Day. Their sister organization, Zeta Phi Beta, has their Founders Day today. So we just obviously want to continue to shout them out. But before we broke, we were actually kind of giving some personal perspective on our affiliation with the organization and kind of what were the early influences for you? Were there family influences or otherwise that helped you know that Phi Beta Sigma was for you? Go ahead, Dan.
I always like to say Phi Beta Sigma. I know people say, what made you choose Phi Beta Sigma? But I always flip it in the perspective of Phi Beta Sigma chose me, because I was joined the military and I moved out to Colorado where I was out there by myself. I didn't really have any family. And there was a group of men that kind of gravitated towards me and wrapped their arms around me and just helped me mold as a young military man. And we went to this party and I'm standing there with them. And then the song comes on. Next thing I know, they just all start strolling. And I'm like, wait, what? And so they come off and I'm like, hey, what organization are you guys a part of? And they're like, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And I'm like, wow, I've always wanted to be a Sigma. And it was just crazy that the 6 guys that I was hanging with were all members of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So the reason I sometimes say they chose me is because it showed, like Brother Mount said, that it didn't matter about your background or, what kind of financial status that you had. You couldn't look at a member sometimes and say, oh, that's a Sigma, or, oh, I thought you were this, or I thought you were that. We get that a lot because of, you have people from different walks of life. So you couldn't really stereotype us. And so from that, just seeing that love and that brotherhood, I was like, yeah, Phi Beta Sigma is going to be the right organization for me. So especially being in the military, I always had a group of men that I could reach out to whenever, no matter where I was at in the country. And so it was good at that time to see that the guys that I was hanging with were doing what they needed to do in their careers, were doing what they needed to do with those that were married and had their families. And so I was like, it's only right that, so I instantly was like, hey, I'm trying to get where you guys are at. How can I get there? And they navigated and helped me grow from there. And one person I always attest to that is Danny Foster. The late Danny Foster, he's passed away now, but he was one of the people that was instrumental and stayed on me no matter what. Even when it was just me that was coming to the interest meetings, he was like, "Look, I know it's just you. Do not get discouraged." And we go from there. And he kept pushing me, and that led me to where I am today.
Man, that's great stuff, man. I mentioned family influences, and Dave, I know that you actually forced your son to pledge Sigma, which I think is just a shame because he has so many other choices, man.
It was only one choice. If
No,
I'd have
no,
seen him at fam doing anything else.
no. Keith is right. He had a lot of other choices. Let's see what his choices were. He actually had he first of all, my son attends the great FAMU University in Tallahassee. Okay, go Rattlers. Um, he had some other choices. Let's see what they were. Phi Beta Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma. Oh yeah, and Phi Beta Sigma fraternity incorporated. So you're right. He had other choices, but
He just
so
chose the right one,
so
though.
so let's delve into that just a little bit, and I'll give you a connection to Daniel's point. So for me, Phi Beta Sigma chose me in a totally different kind of perspective, and I'll explain how I gravitated to the organization. For me, it was actually from a cultural perspective, and it connects to what Zaney said earlier about a lot of diverse background brothers. Um, I happen to be of Haitian descent. When I attended my first university in New York City, which was Bernard and Baruch College, which is traditionally known as a really top business school in the country. Um, the Sigma that I connected with, we connected from a cultural background. Before I even knew he was a member of Phi Beta Sigma, he was my dean. He ended up becoming my dean of pledges. He was also of Haitian descent, and he and I connected on a cultural level through a cultural group at the school. And I came to learn about him and his affiliation in Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated after the fact of us having that bond and that connection. And it was interesting enough that the very next brother I also met was also of Haitian descent. So in my mind, to a certain extent, uh, I actually thought that Phi Beta Sigma was an organization with a bunch of Haitians in it. Being an 18-year-old in college, I mean, the way we put things together in our minds, to me that's what made sense, right? But that's how I gravitated to Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. And then the connection with my son, I mean, you got to look at it this way. From the day he was born, you know, the genesis of that little guy, who is now a grown man who is taller than me, he's now 21 years of age. All of his uncles that came to the house, I remember him at a very young age sitting on my lap, tracing the brand on my arm with his finger and asking me, Daddy, what is that? And I said, oh, that's a Sigma brand. And he couldn't pronounce the word properly. And he used to say, oh, Daddy's CMOS? Daddy's CMOS. And then as any brother, it didn't matter who would come to the house, he would be like, Daddy, is he CMOS too? So, I mean, I look at it from his perspective. It was inherent in the blood. Him seeing a lot of positive men come to the house, asking questions like, Dad, what does he do for a living? What does that guy do for a living? And over the years, that has truly impacted his development and his growth.
That's outstanding, man. That's a great story too. You mentioned being a dad, and I happen to know all of you guys as family men. You're all married with children. How has the fraternity, your affiliation with the fraternity, helped to kind of shape your influence as a family man? Because in college, it's all about you party and the girls come to the parties, and you got your status, kind of on campus, or whatever. But as you mature into a man, either you leave the fraternity to go be a family man, or you incorporate like family. So, Zanny, how has that turned out for you?
I think because I'm a little unique, I came into a ready-made family. Brenda already had daughters, three of them. Two are Zetas like her, and one is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Uh, so it gave me a perspective of, uh, having to make that adjustment. But the tools that the fraternity had taught me about, compromise, communication, uh, listening, working together for a common bond of, you know, trying to help them grow into, the beautiful, intelligent ladies they are today. Uh, I can trace that back to just uh, how Sigma has made me the type of man that is always thinking about others and wanting to help push and have them achieve the highest heights that they can go to. So uh, I think it really gave me that perspective. I kind of married late in life, so I think I had all of the partying out the way, and I was ready to find that mate, and it just gave me that perspective of wanting to provide for my family, and knowing that as a Sigma, uh, as we always rank it, it's God and religion, it's your family, it's your work, and then it's the fraternity. To make sure that you're putting all of those in the right perspective.
For sure, and I think that's critical, especially for Black men. In this day and age, there's so much pressure on us. I think the country has looked to us for leadership for quite some time now, and now it's even more important that we be grounded to deal with some of the things that we face in these turbulent times. I want to get you brother's perspective on the events of the last I want to say couple of weeks, but even beyond that. I mean, we had a lot of turmoil leading up to this recent general election, and then since that time, I don't even have to begin to talk about the kind of things that we've experienced. So where's Phi Beta Sigma um, and how your affiliation helped lead and be a voice of leadership in these times? Dan or Dave?
I think for me, the fraternity really equipped me. We have a program called the Emerging Leaders Forum, and I was one of the second cohorts to go through. I graduated during our centennial, which I'll never forget, but they instilled in me the leadership skills there at that point in time. And it allowed me, how to go out in public speak and speak with, in a manner to where people understand you and you don't come off as the angry Black man, as we sometimes get associated with. The leadership skills of just building those valued relationships and kind of navigating and going through there. It just pushed me to be, a strong leader and develop my leadership skills through the different avenues of understanding everything. And I think that's helped me now, because now we live in a space to where when you talk to people, sometimes their views are so misguided that even if you do tell them a fact, they still dismiss it as something else. So you have to learn to just stand strong on your beliefs and stand true to that, even though sometimes people, will not be willing to change, willing to see it from a different perspective and go from there. And so that I think Phi Beta Sigma equipped me to be able to handle that, because we deal with those incidents every day. And it seems like something new. Like we're already 16 days into January, and we've already had so much happen. So with that going from there, but I think that's how Phi Beta Sigma equipped me as a leader to do this. And then, I mean, all the leadership positions that I've had within the fraternity, also having to navigate and work with different committees and organizations within the fraternity, allowed me to be that leader that can stand firm today and represent the organization.
Outstanding. Dave, you got some perspective you want to share with us?
I would piggyback on what Brother Smith said, from the standpoint of, I think my affiliation with this organization over the years has made me mentally strong and well built and capable, as well as my collegiate and alumni experiences within the chapters I've been a member of, to give me the fortitude to be able to properly express my views in a politically correct way, not coming off, to Daniel's point, as looking like, the anti this or the anti that, but giving it a proper perspective from an educated thought process, and being logical in my in my dissemination of the information. It's been very difficult, I would say, to watch the turmoil. Um, and, I made an analogy to a friend of mine recently. I said, growing up as a little kid, I remember being spanked and severely punished for telling tales. I think that's something a lot of folks from, the African American community can relate to. At least folks from our generation, that growing up, there was a certain accountability you had to have. And, if you told your grandmama a tall tale, you got a spanking, and they might have even have told you to go outside and get a switch and bring it back. And for me, at the fundamental core of everything that's going on, it's what example are we setting for our children? That are we saying now that if we provide you an alternative set of facts, which is essentially, I'm going to tell a tale, um, it's almost like, well, then we've lost our way. Because to me, it always goes back to that one little story I think everybody remembers reading in kindergarten or first grade, Little Red Riding Hood. How many times are you going to cry wolf before no one comes? And, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it falls on deaf ears after a while. I mean, because people just stop respecting what's coming from your, what's coming from your mouth. I know as a being a Black Greek, one of the things we've been challenged with is just our reputation in our own community. So, Zannie, I know in your case, and I know Dave's been here for 30 years, things have changed a lot. The pledge process through the years, and kind of back in the day, the reputation was, hazing, and that was how you got to be, in a Black Greek-led organization. Now I know that in recent times, we have all, I think all of us collectively have been very diligent in protecting our brands and doing all of the necessary risk management things. But all of the customs and the secrets and the traditions and all of that kind of stuff, like how do we keep those things intact while staying on the right side of the risk management piece of this? I'm sure you got some perspective.
Well, I think the key thing is we have to continue to stress that it should not put your mental and physical health in jeopardy to join an organization. And if we keep the focus in on, because Lord knows we've got a lot of work to do in this country. We are so divided. It's going to take all of our efforts. And so we need to really foster recruiting the type of men and women that's going to come in and make a difference and reach out to our young people and let them know that the old ways, are gone. And we have a new day of coming into our organizations, and it's based on, education. It's based on providing a historical perspective and building the bonds of brother and sisterhood without putting somebody's life at risk. So I think if we can channel the energy to more positive activities, I know all of our organizations, in the mid 90s took, that change of how we bring in members. We have to just continue to, the old stories, we need to leave them in the past and build new traditions. We have to be smarter. We're supposed to be the talented 10th, from W.E. Du Bois. So I know we can come up with ways on how we can do positive reinforcement to get members in and then channel again that energy into positive activities to help lead, the future generations that's going to come after us.
I like when you use the term positive activities, and I want us to talk about and get your perspective on mentoring, because that is one of the positive activities that I know all of our organizations have taken very seriously. But in the last 30, 40 years, as we have seen the challenge for Black males, the school to prison pipeline, and those type of things. Dan, I know that you've got some background working on the, mentoring with your mentoring groups within the organization as well.
Yeah, so the mentoring, that's definitely one of the driving forces that, got me hooked in the beginning. I started working with our Sigma Beta Club, which is our young mentor group. But it was good to come into, because with our Crescent Foundation, the organization that we use as our nonprofit arm, we had 100% graduation rate. And so any male that entered our program, they went to college or either military during that time, but they navigated and got that mentorship throughout. So we've adopted a program that's similar to kind of like the Boy Scouts, where they go through different tiers and they receive rewards at each one of those tiers and navigate through there. But the mentorship also became a place of, those absentee fathers that aren't in those kids' lives. We, in a sense, as mentors, became that for some of these kids. Some of them, when they couldn't talk to mom about some stuff, the mom would call us and say, "Hey, I know this is probably outside of you guys' realm, but can you guys talk to my son about this, or talk to them?" So I've taken, many of our boys to lunch and say, "Hey, what's going on at home? How can we navigate through this and work through it?" And I think us as, Divine Nine, being able to do that and be those strong men for them sometimes, because they may have an absentee father or a single mother who's trying to, manage and do it all on her own. It's made a direct change and impact into their lives. And I know sometimes we say, "Oh, we want you to come back and be a member," but it's more important, we just want you to be something and navigate and be who you are destined to be, and push that out of you. So it's always good. I got a call last week. One of our guys just got promoted to captain, and he's like, "I just want to thank you, because I didn't know the Air Force was an option for me, but seeing you come in your uniform every day and be able to still have fun and do these things with your brothers showed me that I could do it too." So he's like, "I got promoted to captain, a little earlier than what I was supposed to, but I want you to be at my promotion ceremony." And I'm like, "Okay," but then with COVID, it's not gonna be virtual, and navigate from there. But I think that's what's important, is being those mentors and being there and actually wrapping our arms around those young men, and helping them navigate through life, and just being a resource to them, because we've walked this path already. Now it's our time to reach back and say, "Hey, these are my mistakes that I made. This is what I want you to do to not make these mistakes. You still got to live your life, but here's just some things that happened to me. This is what I would like not to happen to you," and be able to push forward from there.
To whom much is given, much is required, man. And giving back is so critical. I want to go back to something that Dave talked about, being celebrating a 30-year anniversary. We see a lot of the brotherhood activity when we're in college, because guys are just kind of always kind of hanging out. If I've got $5, you got $5, we can go in and get a pizza together, that kind of thing. But so the challenge becomes, because a lot of this is the criticism that comes against all of us, is all of that's back in college. After you get grown, do those bonds die in college, or do you retain those things through the years? I see some interesting pictures of you, Dave, that you post with your cats from back in the day. So you guys still tight?
Oh, absolutely. My to give you perspective on it, my undergraduate chapter, which is Alpha chapter at Baruch College in New York City, that chapter was started in fall of 1982. We do a Zoom call every, I would say, month and a half to 2 months. We do a Zoom virtual call where all the brothers, whether they're in their car, at work, on break, whatever, jump on just so we can catch up. And we might have a little libation, a little smoke stick or something at the time, but we all get together and reminisce, talk about the families, where everybody's kids are, what's going on, how's the wife. Sometimes we uplift each other if there's some sickness in the family with a parent or a loved one. But to your point, I think that's what distinguishes our organizations as the Black Greek lettered, predominantly organizations, from the other orgs, the other Greek orgs, because I believe that we, both through our alumni chapters and through our bonds, we take it to another level. We are still tight. We hang out outside of fraternal, quote unquote, standard formats. We're not just hanging out because we have a meeting to attend. We hang out because we truly enjoy each other's company, and once again, it boils back down to this, and I'm sure you could relate to this, Keith. People of like mind, maybe not like paths, but like mind, like thinking, we tend to gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, that's good. That's outstanding, man. I love the vibe, and I want to close out our show giving you brothers. I don't know if we get an opportunity to get everyone in, but I certainly want to start with Zannie. Give your brotherhood moment. Like when was it real to you that this was more than just pledging, was more than just, hey, that's your brother, y'all need to be brothers. Like when was it like, oh no, this really is about a brotherhood?
For me, well, my mother passed away back in 2012. Just the outpouring, not just from my Tampa brothers, but it was really touching from all over the fraternity spectrum. I mean, I heard from brothers from, DC, from Seattle, from, hey, Brother Mount, we heard, we're so sorry. They lifted me up in prayer. It was like, anything we could do. And it was genuine. And the fact that it was the entire scope of outside of Tampa really just showed me the real scope of, how the brotherhood is real and how it comes together in good times and in bad times. So that was just really touching to me.
Yeah, thanks, man. Dan, I know you haven't been in as quite as long, but do you have a brotherhood moment? Like when did it become real to you?
I mean, it became real to me immediately after I crossed. As Zannie and Dave know, I got hit with deployment orders. So we crossed. I didn't get to celebrate my first year as a NEO. I got hit with, hey, you're going to the desert. So I was in deployment training, and some brothers found out that I was a member of the organization, and they just guided me through that whole process. I went through my first deployment being, nurtured to a point to where these brothers had never met me. I was, I think, 3 weeks fresh into the fraternity, and they still made sure I had everything, so much to the point to where I had a vehicle on our deployment, and most people don't even get that. But one of my brothers was over the vehicle's transportation, and he was like, all right, man, I got an extra vehicle and nobody really drives it. Boom. So I'm riding around, being able to drive around during that deployment and just navigate during those times and explore the city. But that's when it really got real for me, is those brothers reached out and was like, hey, we heard you just got here. This is what we got for you. This is how we're going to take care of you. And they just, helped shape me from that point forward.
Outstanding. Well, I can't speak for Phi Beta Sigma because I'm not a member, but I will tell you on a personal note, I reach out, ask you guys to come, join. And I just felt, the love from you guys is just a fellow, Black man trying to, have a voice and get the word out and make people aware of kind of what we're all about as Black Greek letter organization. So I counted out, Robert, that you would take some time out of your calendars and your schedules to come, jump in here, man, and help share with our viewers the history of Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, and we really appreciate it. Happy belated Founders Day. Again, shout out to Zeta Phi Beta, Sorority Incorporated. I know they are having a ball today, celebrating their Founders Day as well. And we're not done because we know that the AKAs and Deltas just finished theirs as well. So I just want to again just appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you again, and be safe out there, folks. We're still in COVID. I know that we probably all miss the fellowship, one with another, but we just got to keep at it. So let's all get vaccinated. Let's all get behind this thing. So anyway, thanks again, y'all. Peace.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Monica, for having us. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, thanks again. So we'll see you guys next week on the Soul Purpose Show. Hopefully, continue to tune in. We may try to sneak the Omegas in. I know their Founders Day was a few months back. We may try to sneak them in, but we're gonna have to turn the volume down because you know how loud they like to get. So. Y'all take care. Celebrate Martin Luther King Day on Monday. It's not a day off. It is a day of service. So remember your service. Peace out.